might be wondering why the exhaust is missing on my XS400. That's because today we're building a custom exhaust for this. So originally I picked up this DIY exhaust kit. It's made for an XS650, but people on the forum say that it works fine for the XS400 because the port sizes are the same. I got this from Lowbrow Customs. The plan is to take this cone muffler I've got here from Niche Cycles, my stainless 2-into-1 merger here from Vibrant, and I'm going to run it along the side here, probably about right there. That's kind of where I want to get it to sit at. The goal is to have both head pipes wrap around to the side and meet this here and go kind of like shotgun blast right down the side to the cone muffler exit. So we'll see how it goes. It's going to take a little bit of trial and error. Again, I'm not a professional at this. This is going to be my first attempt at making anything with exhaust. So we'll see how it goes. So I think the first step here is to get this thing kind of set up, and I'm going to use some zip ties to kind of briefly hold it in place while I figure out the rest of the exhaust, and that'll give me kind of a temporary mock-up. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. Alright, so you can kind of see what I got going on here. I have this kind of temporary clamp to hold the muffler on to the 2-into-1 merger. I will be taking this off and actually welding the exhaust tip on, and then we're going to run some springs to each one of these to hold the exhaust in place. But you can kind of see what I did here. I just found a point in the frame where I could zip tie these off to, and that's going to kind of give us right about where we want it. So the next step will be mocking up what we want to go from the head pipes to the actual rest of the exhaust. So on most motorcycles that I see with side exhausts like that, they'll usually bring the passenger side and come underneath and go up to the top. And then of course the left-hand side head will come down and go to the bottom one. So we're going to try to do that now. I might grab a couple coat hangers to mock up roughly the shape that I want. I don't have a ton of material to work with, but this Lowbrow Customs kit does come with a few different bins. So we got those to work with, as well as these two 18-inch sections. So I've got this first head pipe kind of mocked up. Obviously it's not going to be this long, but I will be cutting it shorter, probably around right here or so. And what that's going to do is bring this in closer to this pipe. And then I've got part of the radius cut right here. And my plan is to kind of line that up and get that to weld in place right there. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this pipe right now, make my initial cut on that, and then we'll come back and cut this one up and see what we can do to make them line up. You can see we got that rough cut made just along my line, and now this should give us pretty much that position that we want on the bottom runner. So that's about what we're looking for. Just a slight downward angle, but we're still going to have a smooth bend in it. So what I'll do is I'll probably put like one tack to hold this in place, and then we'll get working on the actual curvature of the left side pipe and get it to match up down here with this. Alright, let's take a quick look at what I've done so far. So, ignoring my absolutely terrible welds, this is what we've got so far. So the idea is that we've got both pipes coming down equal distance apart, so we keep a really nice uniform gap all the way down. And then I've got this bend coming up towards the port. You can see where I'm going to cut it right here, and then we've got our next section of pipe that we're going to cut off, place in there, get it lined up, and tack weld this into place, and that should complete our first pipe. And then we can work on getting the second one brought over. So really good progress so far. I think it's looking pretty much how I want to. Obviously, I'm gonna bring it up a little bit higher than this, but overall, this is about what I'm aiming for. It looks really good so far. So I've got this pipe cut, grinded. You can see once I slot this in here that now this is gonna line up pretty well. I just have to make my cut right here and tack weld these up to each other, and that is gonna get that perfect side profile we're after. Really, really liking how this is turning out. All right, we've made a couple more cuts, and we're looking pretty good here. So that's about as close as I could ask for. I'm just gonna grind it, clean these ends up, and get that tack welded together. So I told you before, I am by no means a welder. I have to kind of spot weld it all the way around because the metal's so thin with this flux MIG that I'm using, it will blow through the metal so fast. You can see parts where I've tried to patch up holes that it blew through on. That's all what that is, but for the most part, I would just do a tack and just keep moving. So I know it's terrible. This is like my first time actually welding, but we'll make good use of a grinder and see if it cleans up at all. So I've still got to do a little bit of grinding, clean this thing up, but that's what we've got so far. This is definitely looking pretty good. I like the way it's looking. I got this slight bend right over the top of the stator cover, and it loops around quite nicely. So my plan is to follow that same curve and then go to the other head port, and that should do it. I mean, this is turning out super nice. I really like it, honestly. Okay, so this is the piece that I'm planning to use to bridge across to the other port. What I'm thinking is I want it to follow kind of the same profile. I want to get it as close to this frame as possible without like obviously hitting it, and get it up towards that direction and then have it basically come down here. So what I'm thinking we'll have to do is notch this pipe slightly crooked so I can put this pipe on it. And I want it to line up perfectly with the other one. I think it'll give it a really cool look. Let's see what I've got so far. I'm trying to maintain an even gap all the way down through these bends and then around this loop to the other head port. So I'm just gonna need pretty much another 90 into that and I'll be done with this exhaust. All right, we've made a couple more cuts today. Got the last turn into the exhaust port going on, and the pipe didn't line up quite like I wanted it to, so I had to cut it down a little short. And this is why you always save your scraps, because this is going to drop right in there and it's going to clean up beautifully. So that is looking pretty sharp. I like it. That is essentially what the finished exhaust should look like. So I'm going to go ahead and get this welded up, and I'll see you guys back here in a couple minutes. So unfortunately, I didn't get to show you guys the last part of putting this exhaust together because I was in such a rush packing and getting this thing ready for our big trip that was upcoming. So you'll see that in the future, but I do want to go over what I did to finish this out. So I finished up all my terrible welds, of course. I had some trouble getting the exhaust ports to seal, but I got some new gaskets and it seems to be holding up okay. Past that, I did a bit of high temp black paint on the head pipes and then wrapped them with exhaust wrap to prevent myself from burning the crap out of my leg. And that's done a pretty good job so far. I tried to weld on some tabs to this back muffler section, and let me tell you, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm learning as I go, and next time I want to weld on stainless, I'll probably use my TIG setup instead. It does not like flux core, but it's not leaking at all, and it sounds okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and start this up for you, let you hear what it sounds like, and then I'll do a quick takeoff video so y'all can check it out as well.
What we do here is go back.